We sold everything out there. The last property we sold out there was $385,000 in the get. I mean, there's nothing we would ever make. In fact, I had to get squatters out of there. So, I mean, I would never eat it.
Down the street. Yes, it's good. Whitfield is very good.
Had a first baby chair. Nice, and then we came back to Arkansas.
Oh, yeah. The house I live in, if it was in California, location, it would be $2 million. I bought Dr. Reed's agency, first primary university. Everybody's looking at $15,000. You know, you just buy a house for $15,000. That's what I paid for the roof.
Nice.
Deborah. Hey there. I don't believe it. Oh, yeah, I heard it. Every time I get a kick out of it. I'm going to do it, You got no bones in there. What's up, man? I see the other thing. I'm mad at the rubber.
No person is passing out has information on that this you run off.
It is now 6 o'clock, and we're going to ask all the candidates to please come up
You sit right
to
there.
the
Thank you.
front. Good evening, good evening. We want to, do some understanding, get some understanding. We asked that, whether you agree or disagree with what the candidates say, please hold your applause or your moans or groans or whatever it may be. We're down to the wire, and we're at the point now we've got to pick individual that's going to lead our community. So we want to make sure we be respectful across the board. We have a timekeeper, and I'm bad with names. I'm going to allow him to get up and introduce himself, turn around, tell everybody who you are there.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Brainard Bivens. I'm a representative of the Arkansas Community Organization, and I'm your timekeeper.
And you can clap down to you. Each candidate will have a 3-minute prepared opening. They don't have to take 3 minutes. They can do it in 2, whatever they want to say. Each candidate would have 1 minute to answer any question. Because we have 4 people on the panel tonight, the moderator will be able to, if there is a need for a rebuttal or something of that nature, the moderator will work with the timekeeper, and someone may get a minute rebuttal, a 30-second rebuttal. We don't have to rush people tonight because we have that time. The timekeeper, when he raises 30 seconds up, that means you have 30 seconds before he cuts you off. And we ask that you stop at that time. We got on here that each candidate has 30-second rebuttal, but if it need be, we want our citizens to be well informed. The moderator will navigate us through that process across the board. We've asked the moderator to make sure that if Mayor Washington answers the first question from the audience, that Representative Flowers will get the next question. Alderman Brown gets the first question from the alderman. The next question that comes up for the alderperson, Mr. Fales, will be the first to answer it. So we want to rotate it. So when we ask the candidate, it's okay to say I answered it, the last one first. We'll be okay with that. So we can be fair across the board. The time limit will be strictly enforced. At this time, we have some partners that came in with the NAACP to sponsor this. We want to allow them an opportunity to give you a short welcome, and then we're going to introduce our moderator for tonight. So with a representative of all the sponsors, please come forward to give a welcome from your respective.
Good evening. Welcome to the Diamond Realm Jones Community Services Center. I just want to say a couple of things as we get ready to go. PBI-CBR is extremely proud to join in this voter education forum. PBI-CBR was organized in 1964 with 9 local African Americans. Our purpose was to get more African Americans involved in the political process. PBI-CBR has organized and changed at-large voting. Pine Bluff used to be at-large city voting for Alderman. And of course, these two over here benefit from the ward elections, because when they passed the ward election, that gave African Americans a chance to choose their representative. With at-large, the whole city chose your representative. So tonight, we want to hope that this will be a fair election this year, that there will be no sign stealings, no name calling, but people will do it in a fair way. Because we know people will get that temptation to pick up a sign here and there. So during this voter education application, because tonight you are interviewing these candidates by hearing what they say. You hire them and you fire them. They work for you. And so they want to be the ones to do this for the next 4 years. Look at all of them. They're all great people, but you gotta choose one. You make your choice. Your vote is your voice, and your voice is your power.
How's everyone doing? My name is Kendall Ferguson. I'm Kendall Ferguson Jr., not senior, because I know everybody know my father. I'm here representing the most western Prince Hall Grand Lodge jurisdiction of Arkansas, where the Honorable Mark A. McGraw serves as the 20th Grand Master. I'm the Grand Secretary Treasurer. We, the Prince Hall Masons, we just want to thank everybody for allowing us this opportunity to be a part of this, and once again, thank you very much.
Good afternoon. My name is James Wilburn. I am the head of the Elks here in Pine Bluff. I've been an Elk for over 35 years. Some notable Elks that you might know are Medgar Evers was a chief antler. Oprah Winfrey went to school on an Elk scholarship. Dr. Martin Luther King. And so I'm very proud to be a part of that same organization with them. And I thank you for coming out tonight to look at these candidates. And I retired here from San Diego, California. People thought I needed my head exam for leaving San Diego, California to move to Pine Bluff, Arkansas. But I love this city. And I want to have a say in who's going to run this city for the next 4 years. We've now separated the wheat from the chaff. So let's get out there, let's vote, and make our voices heard. And I thank these candidates, and I thank you for coming out tonight, because you all could have done something else. But you chose to be here tonight. Thank you so much.
Good evening. My name is Alderman King Jr. I'm the political chair of the NAACP. Members at hand, we are here. We want to welcome you, listen to the questions, give some questions, ask some questions, get some answers, and we just welcome you here tonight.
Yes, I'm from the Arkansas Community Organization, also known as ACORN back in the day. So if you're familiar with ACORN, we've been here and we're here today, and we're proud of this collaboration with all organizations.
Let's get all in my hand. What we want to do is, I'm going to ask Reverend Davis to come up with our speaker. what we're gonna do is make sure everyone knows that we have paper and pen. If you don't feel like walking, you raise your hand. We will bring you some paper. You can write the question down. And they're gonna look at it in the back. My hopes and prayers is that all questions be given up so they can answer it. If it's nothing, no personal attack, but any other question would be allowed to come across this mic. It's my hope, and we're gonna let them, they'll vet it out, and we'll bring it up to the moderator. Before we introduce the moderator, my forefathers will kill me because we didn't start off with prayer. Reverend David, you come and bless us with a word of prayer.
Pine Bluff, if you would, look at the person next to you and tell them I'm glad to see you here tonight. There's nothing better than knowing the person sitting beside you, amen? Let's pray. Father God, we thank you once again for a day never seen before. You are amazing. We thank you for life. Your word declares that this is the day that you have made. We shall rejoice and be glad in it. So right now, Lord, we yield to you. As we do our best efforts, we yield to your power, your authority, and your spirit to guide us to what you would have us to do. Pine Bluff's greatness is not dependent on us, but dependent on you in us. So we acknowledge you first in all that we do, that you may be lifted up and glorified, and the devil horrified. Bless us right now with kingdom, integrity, and ethics, that all we do will take us forward in this endeavor. This we pray in the name of Jesus, and all the believers say amen. 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 Thank you, brother.
Thank you, son. Thank you for telling me that. All right, at this time, no further ado, we're going to introduce our moderator for tonight. Best way to introduce a man that everybody should know is to get out, let's call his name, get out the way, and let him introduce himself. This is Byron Tate from the Pine Bluff Commercial. Let's give him a hand as he comes.
Thanks, Mr. Whitfield. And thank you to the organizations that are putting this on. Wow, it got packed there since I came up here and sat down, so that's great. Because we have fewer candidates, I hope that this is a little more conversational. We will ask our timekeeper to keep us on track so that we don't get too far off the rails for time, but the last time we did this, the one that I was at, it was pretty structured, and I think, if we leave here tonight and we have put some space between these candidates, and you have a little better idea of what this person stands for, what this person stands for, I think that's a good thing. I have put together way too many questions. You guys are already submitting questions. I'll be leaning into these. This is, I'm just here to direct traffic, but I'll be leaning into the questions you all send over. So without further ado, we'll get started. Opening remarks. Mayor, can we start with you, and we'll just move across. A lot of my questions, actually most of these questions, will apply to both the mayoral, the opening remarks, Mr. Timekeeper, 3 minutes. And then 1 minute for each answer, 30 seconds for rebuttals, but again, we can have more than one rebuttal. Hopefully. So, Mayor, will you start us off with a, okay, yes, ma'am.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you to our sponsors, Pine Bluff ICGR, Ms. Hall, NAACP, and ACO. We thank you so very much for the opportunity. I was sworn into office for my first term as mayor, January 1 of 2017. There was much work to be done, and we all know that. I hit the ground running. First and foremost, I established a working relationship between the mayor's office, the mayor, and the council. There were bricks everywhere. All of you can remember that we couldn't drive from one end of Main Street to the other. So I had to establish a sense of urgency so that we could get Main Street open again. There were projects that had been on the table thanks to the support and approval of the citizens, I was elected and re-elected a second term after we had been accomplished that first term. 2020, we headed into that second term, and who would think we were struck by COVID? Moving me out of the front office onto the front line. We all know what that was all about. We faced a 100-year flood, as well as a water crisis throughout the city. In all that I've experienced as a leader, nothing has challenged me more than COVID-19 and the natural disasters that we faced. PPE had to be distributed throughout the community, to the entire city. Dealing with the loss of life, many of us dealt with that. And I'm sure everybody in this room was touched. I still remember the day my brother-in-law passed away from COVID-19. Coordinating all of the efforts that we had to coordinate through that period, and the multiple nights spent in homeless shelters. Now I come before you asking for an opportunity to complete the job that we've started after many challenges have been faced and many projects have been completed. My first priority, we must continue the development of our community-based policing initiative, better known as GBI, the Group Violence Intervention Program. We're tired of losing our young people. We must make this a successful initiative. The $500,000 investment that we have put in must not be in vain. We must build quality, affordable housing across the city. We must build in every ward in the city of Pine Bluff. We have to continue the work of rebuilding our city schools, develop partnerships to address critical needs in the street department. We know that we need much equipment and efforts put forth there, managing flooding. The stage is set for the demolition of the Plaza Hotel. The construction
Can everybody hear in the back?
No, we can't see them either. If they could stand up when they.
Could you stand up when you give your answer?
I may not be able to stand up.
Or can they go to the podium when they answer their questions?
They can definitely come here because there's
Right. Okay. So if they can do that, if they can go to the podium.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everybody.
There you go.
So I definitely want to thank all of the host organizations. But most of all, I want to thank the people for coming out tonight and those watching. My name is Vivian Flowers. I'm state representative currently for District 65 and I'm serving in my 10th year. I made a decision to run for mayor last year, pretty much at the last minute. And I did so because I saw the tea leaves and I saw where we were going. And without any focus on one person per se, I saw that we were going to be in the same place with some of the same issues that have been long-standing and not addressed. I think this is about our 9th, I lost count, candidate forum. And I've been very clear in sounding the alarm that in the last census period, we have lost over 10,000 people and 10,000 jobs. Since the most recent census, we've lost another 2,000 people. And when I've been trying to ring the alarm, I don't have to ring the alarm about safety, about our young people we've lost. Y'all, we have to be very, very deliberate. We have to work together. And we can't dismantle programs that are central to public safety while we pour resources, your tax dollars, into festivals and basketball games. I'm not saying that those things have not been important and we don't need quality of life programs and events, but we have to prioritize. We should have seen bricks picked up over the last 7 years. We should have seen some development and some great things happen because you contributed over $30 million to the city coffers so those things and more could happen. What I am committing to do with my over 30 years experience in public service, in politics, and in government service is to focus on our youth, to focus on our economic development in this city, and to focus on public safety. We have to address the fact that we have taken away resources from things that worked, and we have not paid resources to things we know work, not only here in the past, but in other cities. And I promise to do so with communication. I promise to do so with a focus on transparency and a focus on accountability. Thank you. Let me test this. Okay, it's pretty clear, very clear. I don't think I'll go over my opening, but I thank my sponsors. But I started out with saying that I was sworn into office in 2017, January 2017. And when I was sworn in, there was much to be done. When I say I hit the ground running, I'm telling you, we really had to hit the ground running because there was so much to be done. It was as if there hadn't been any positive movement in our city in such a long time. And I did say that I had to establish a working relationship with the council and the mayor because there had been discord among those groups for many years. So with that being done, we were able to get work started. I said there were bricks in the streets and we had to establish a sense of urgency to open up Main Street. Because Main Street is the living room of your city. So it was just imperative that we make that happen. There were many projects that had been on the books for a long, long time. We had to get those projects moving. One of those projects was the Carl A. Reedus Aquatic Center that had been on the books for years. We had to finish the design and build that center. The streetscape was part of what was going to be done to finish up the cleaning up of Main Street. We had to get that project moving. We've completed phase 1 of streetscape, and we're ready to move into phase 2. Thanks to the support of and the approval of the citizens, after many projects were completed that first term, we were re-elected for a second term. But as soon as we headed into that second term, we were struck by COVID-19. Moving out of the office and onto the front lines during that entire period, COVID, we not only faced with that, we were faced with a 100-year flood, and we were faced with a water crisis throughout our city. In all of that, I have experienced as a leader. Nothing has challenged me more than the COVID-19 and the natural disasters that we have faced. Was that my time? And the natural disasters that we have faced. PPE to the entire community had to be distributed, dealing with the loss of life, and I'm sure everybody in this room dealt with the loss of life, coordinating the multiple projects that we had. Now, after completing all that projects, now I come before you asking for an opportunity to complete a job that we started. Our first priority, we must continue the development of our community-based initiatives, and that is our GVI, our Group Violence Intervention Program, which we have invested $500,000 in. We know that this community-based police effort can make a difference. We're tired of losing our young people in our community, and I'll continue with more as we move forward.
before I speak, I'd like to know what did we just do? I thought we were in our introductory. Well, I don't understand. The mayor had two of them, and I didn't understand. I'd just like to know. Oh, see, I didn't know that. Y'all have to tell me what was going on. Do I need to start a new platform? Thank you very much. Very much. Hi, hello. I'm Glen Brown. I live in Pine Bluff. I've lived in Pine Bluff basically all my life. When I say basically, that means I only left for visitation and come back. I did a lot of traveling, but I always knew where home was, and that was Pine Bluff. I am married. I have 2 sons and 4 grandchildren. Hallelujah. I graduated from UAPB with an education degree in Washington Chapel with very high marks. I don't need to explain that. At the same time, I'm a very people person. Some people say I talk too much, but everywhere I go, I talk. I talk to the older, the elderly, the youth, and the middle class, and that's just like it is. I can't go in the store and come straight out because I'm always talking to people. I've served 4 terms on the Jefferson County Quorum Court. Yes, we struggled. We did a lot of things great over there with Jack Jones. Sure we did. We made the Quorum Court appear to be a household thing. Before myself and others were on the Quorum Court, it was just a building, it was just a meeting, and people didn't know anything about the Quorum Court. So we brought light to people about the Quorum Court. Actually, I've served I'm working on 4 terms for the city council. I've served 3 years already. Sadly enough, I got defeated on my 3rd term attempt, but I did come back and beat that same person on the next time out. So people need to know that, and I'm hoping I don't have to repeat that this time. At the same time, I feel like this. I'm a very honest person. You're not going to catch me in the scandals. You're not going to catch me being bribed. You're not going to have any people telling me how to vote. I'm going to be straightforward with you. I'm just going to tell you just like it is. And I'm just a go-getter. I'm going to go out there and get it. I forgot, Mr. Tate was in and out of the Pine Bluff commercial. I think you were there twice. Am I correct? Not really. So I'm like, okay then. So I have written, and you can research it, plenty of articles or editorials talking about what Pine Bluff needs. And those articles mostly relate to getting new restaurants, shopping places, recreational places for youth and the elderly. I certainly am a big fan of having things that make people want to live here, and I talk about that all the time. If we had places where people would shop, where people would want to go to eat, on Mother's Day we wouldn't have to go out with Little Rock. We have to go to Little Rock to get a decent restaurant on Mother's Day, and that's kind of sad for us. We're a pretty nice city. Well, we have all the avenues to be a great city. We have the rail system, we have the port, we have great highways, we have an airport. I'm telling you, people, I work hard in all this. I really do. And I really would like to continue to work for you in Pine Bluff, Arkansas on the city council. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. First and foremost, I really want to thank the residents of Ward 3 for their outstanding support on Election Day recently. It was really... I'm very grateful for your confidence in me. For those of you who do not know, my name is William Fells. I was born and raised right here in Pine Bluff. I graduated from Ridgeway High School and the American University in Washington, D.C., where I majored in political science. I have worked as a page in the United States Senate, as an intern for the U.S. Justice Department under the Obama administration, and as a project coordinator here in Pine Bluff for the mayor's office for 4 years. And I also served as project director for the Advancing Health Literacy Program. And that was an initiative that handed out free PPE, health screenings, vaccines, and educational classes to more than 4,700 residents here in Jefferson County and Pine Bluff. I'm running because I believe that no matter who you are in this room, most of us, we just want the same things. We want to live in clean neighborhoods that are safe, where our families can find opportunity. And I'm running because I believe that there are some areas that need to be addressed in order for us to make that happen. One of the things that I believe we should be doing here in Pine Bluff is developing a clean team. So these will be individuals who will be out monitoring routes, keeping them clear of litter and debris on a regular basis. We tried to get this done a few years ago. It didn't happen, but I believe with a new council in place, we can make that a possibility. And I do recognize that the county, they do have cleanup operations that take place on the weekends. But I believe there's so much trash here in the city of Pine Bluff that we need weekday operations. And I also know that, yes, we do have to change the culture. We do have to tell people, stop littering. We have to get into these classrooms and teach that to our children. But that's not going to happen next month. That's not going to happen this year. Until that happens, we need that clean team in place. I also believe that we need to be overhauling our streets. So that means there's a lot of course, fixing those potholes. And of course, there's a lot of street lighting that needs to be increased. For example, at 3rd and Hutchinson, I believe, at nighttime, that area is pitch black. We know it festers in the darkness, and we can't allow that in our community. There's also a lot of street signage that needs to be replaced. I know some of you have seen some of those concrete street markers, they're like poles. Some of them, you can't even read them. I think we need to strategically replace some of those. And we also have to support this group violence intervention program that the city has started. This is a very innovative approach in terms of connecting to young people, connecting them with social services to reduce some of those circumstances that lead to crime. It's one of the first, it's the first of its kind in the state of Arkansas, and all of us as a community should be supporting it. So these are some of the reasons why I'm running, and I believe that if we all work together to make these changes, this can be a better community to live, work in, and find opportunity in. Thank you.
If you would hold your applause, that sounds like a high thing to ask, but we'll get through this quicker. The next question is, we're going to start with Mr. Fells, is tell us 3 things that differentiate you from your opponent.
Well, I made a commitment at the beginning of this race. I wasn't going to focus on anybody else's campaign, so we have a long forum here tonight, and I'll just give Mr. Brown, he'll have an opportunity to talk about his campaign, but I can't expand on some of the things that my campaign is about. In addition to the clean team, one of the things that I did as a project coordinator, and I think, well, 2 things that I believe have prepared me to be the next council member is I believe I have the experience and tenacity to get onto the ground and get things in motion. One of the things that I was most proud of doing when I worked as a project coordinator was developing the Second Chance Initiative. And that was a partnership with CR College, Tori and Katrina Hunter, and then our juvenile justice system, Judge Brown. You all know him, he's a phenomenal judge here in our community. And it was all about some of these kids who are in the justice system. We can reduce some of their penalties if they participated in classes and if they went out on the weekends, picked up trash, did some work study opportunities. So I think that's one thing that I believe distinguishes me in this race, is that I'm someone, I don't care if it's my idea or your idea. If it's a good idea, I'm on board. And I don't care who gets the credit, I'm on board. And then I'm also someone, I don't believe in delegating. I believe in getting out there on the ground, putting my work boots on, getting into the ditches where it's muddy and wet, and doing what I can to support the community. So that's one thing that I believe distinguishes me in this race.
Okay, again, thank you for coming out tonight and allowing me to express my concerns for my continuation on the city council tonight. The question was, what can I say about my opponent? Well, I can say this. He's a very young guy and inexperienced when it comes to city government. I can tell you that. He has not a proven record for what he can and will do for this city. If you look back at me, without prejudice. You can see that I have been very, very informed and very profound to what's going on in the city. I know what's happening. I can tell you that. The next thing I can tell you is I'm quite older than he is. I mean, he's just trying to find out where the door is. I already know. I've been through it back and forth, man. I mean, that's not a negative thought. That's just telling it just like it is. And, you know, and like I say, I'm not going to get that very much negative. That's the closest I'm going to get to it. But I will guarantee you this, that I will be the best when it comes to he and I for this position. I can tell you that. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. I'll just speak to the first thing that I think is a distinguishing difference between myself and my opponent, and that is my body of experience. When I say I have had over 30 years experience, it's not just been in one position. It has been really in service, whether it has been as a volunteer commissioner on state commissions, on local commissions. And it has not been just to sit on the commission. I have been, I think, effective in policy. In the 10 years that I've served in the legislature, I've brought resources not only to the state and passed legislation that has been impactful to the community, but also especially to Pine Bluff and the region. Transparency and accountability is something that I have committed to expanding and improving in this city as mayor. And then finally, I will be someone and have been someone who will listen. I think that when we're talking about listening, it has to be not only you listen, but you act according to what the people want. And that means that if I approach something and say, ask for you to vote for it, and you say no, I won't come back again and give you the same thing.
One of the things that I can say that distinguishes me from my opponent is that throughout my life, I have been a servant. I have been a public servant. And I know my opponents say she's been a servant, but I have done a lot of service right here in this Pine Bluff community, in this beloved community, starting where I live. I served this community for 22 years as a classroom teacher. And when I was a classroom teacher, parents were writing letters to the principal constantly, wanting their children in my classroom because of my level of effectiveness in that classroom. I was a principal for 16 years. The same thing happened there. People were writing and knocking down the doors of the superintendent's office, trying to get their kids into school where I served faithfully and diligently, where I showed up to work every day. I've been mayor of 7 years, and I haven't been an absentee mayor. I've been a mayor who you can hold accountable. I have been on the job. I have been on time for the job. Now, I am a wife. I am a mother. I am a grandmother. I know what it is to really care and to really get involved and connected with people. In this community, I have been visible. I have been in your schools. I've been in your churches. I've been at your meetings. I have embraced you with love and support.
So the next question is, you want one? Okay. Sorry.
I know we were asked about what distinguishes us. I would say this. Mayor Shirley Washington, this is the only time I'll say her name during this campaign because I'm focused on talking to you about what I will do. She has been a servant. She has been a teacher. I too have been a servant. I think that is a defining comparative similarity between us. So I would say that that question didn't get answered.
Well, for my question, I say that it was answered, because I was telling what I have done and what I do in this community. And I've been visible in this community. I didn't just start showing up when I started running for office. I was always in your churches. I've always been involved in your events. I've always been present in your schools, and all of you in this room already know that. Okay, what's the next question?
Next question. Economic impact studies typically guide planning for capital projects. Why weren't such studies used for planning the 6th Street Plaza and the go-kart track? Will you use such studies for planning in the future?
If I make no mistake, when we started with the 6th Street Plaza, I know we did some economic planning. I know we do economic studies and plannings for most of our capital projects. Most definitely, one was done for the Marriott Hotel that we're getting ready to build pretty soon. I believe when we started that 6th Street project, there was an economic study. I'm not sure exactly those full results because I was working with Ryan Wiley and Go Forward on that one. But we knew that we needed restaurants downtown. We knew that we needed startups for businesses, for entrepreneurs, and that's the reason that Startup Hub was put there. Many people were conducting their businesses from their homes, and with this generator, with this economic hub that we're putting in, people can have a startup place for those new businesses. We know that it's viable that we build a hotel because that is a much needed facility that's going to energize our convention center and make it more successful. So economic studies and economic impact studies are being done.
I would say to that question that what we've seen in this city as it relates to projects, whether Go Forward or other projects, is that feasibility studies is not required and it's not a feature that is required. That is what we need in terms of not only transparency but accountability. So I'll answer the question by saying that if there was one that was done, you didn't see it, and it wasn't required in the decision-making process so that you could understand what the economic figures and data was to support the city expending money in areas that really should have been reserved for private industry. Thank you.
Thank you for that question. You know, I love to answer questions that pertains to Go Forward, and everybody in the room know me by now that I didn't approve of Go Forward, and it proved out to be a very mishap for our city. And then in turn, it was voted down by the people twice. There was a whole lot of inconsistencies in this tax. So, well, I'm saying this, and it's probably going to come up before the night's over. Would I support a tax? It's a possibility when it's done in a proper way, when everything's done in a transparency way. But right now, the answer to me about the Go Forward, they didn't do anything correctly. They don't show no buildings where they built. The go-kart was a piece of ground where it's a road grader or some kind of machinery on the parking lot. And we're talking about after 7 years, and even in this year, they have a $3.8 million in our budget for that group. And I'm just sure that we're going to be disappointed again. Thank you.
I do believe that it is why I can't speak to that specific project. I wasn't involved in the planning on that, but anytime you're doing any type of project, it is prudent to make sure you are doing feasibility studies and things of that nature. But we also have a planning commission, and they do a lot of phenomenal work in making sure that things are going to be cohesive for the city across the long term. And then up here in the Pine Bluff, we also have what's called a comprehensive plan. It's about a 230-page document, and it has a number of strategies and recommendations for growing Pine Bluff. It says, for example, build in this neighborhood, it'll have this impact. Don't build here because it'll have this negative impact. So I think that one of the things it recommends is improving our quality of life. And that's why in this campaign I am advocating for things like the clean team, overhauling our streets. I also think we need to be improving our parks systematically, doing some assessments, figuring out what type of equipment needs to be upgraded, what can we do to improve safety. And then there's a lot of vacant properties in our neighborhood that they need to be addressed, because when they're vacant, people go in there, they're doing nefarious things, and becomes a safety hazard for our community. So things like that are in that comprehensive plan, and we need to be consulting with that document before we initiate any project.
If I had to decide on the claps, I would probably be a loser tonight. They have asked you all to not to clap, and you're still doing something. That's fine. I'm not saying anything for you to clap about, because I'm just going to tell you the truth. I'm not saying things that you want to hear. I'm telling you the truth, and that's what we are. That's just the bottom line. You know, of course, yes, I want the quality of life. I think the word quality of life was mine. I don't think we used it until Carl Rich was in office. I feel like that's my statement, the quality of life. So that's what I want here in Pine Bluff. But my opponent just said that we have things in place for things to happen. Well, if those things are in place, then why are we losing population? That means that somebody's not working the thing that's in the plan that's in place. I have always talked about those things, always, but I did not have enough help to get those things to go across the table. And that's just the way it is. That's what I want. I want a city council and a mayor that will work with those things to go across the table, because I want Pine Bluff to grow. I want Pine Bluff to progress. I want people to want to come to Pine Bluff to live. I want my grandchildren to stay here. Thank you very much.
All right, the next question is, what specifically is being done to address the shortage of police officers to adequately police the city?
I think that it is a broad-based issue, a broad-based problem. I think that, I know for sure that Pine Bluff has a very busy police department. We, I believe, have fewer officers now than we've ever had. And recruitment is not enough when we don't have the resources to compete. I know that there have been a couple of raises, but when you have a lack of resources for insurance for police officers, when you have a lack of, when they're just now getting a uniform allowance increase, and even with the raises, their salaries still are $10,000 to $12,000 less than Benton. It makes it hard to recruit. So I think that we have to identify resources and be very serious about raising pay and making sure that our recruitment efforts are strong for sustainable employment and recruitment of quality officers. Thank you.
When we talk about our police officers, I can only start with where we were when I became mayor. When I became mayor, our police officer starting pay was between $27,000 and $29,000 a year. Yes, they were leaving. So for us to attract and to retain officers, we did have to address the need to increase pay. And we've done that consistently across the board since I've been in office. Are we still behind other communities of our size? Yes. But at the same time, we have gone from 27 to 29,000. Other departments, 42 to 46,000. Other departments have passed taxes. Many of them have passed the 1 cent public safety tax, which is what this community was asked to do, which is what this community should have done, so that we could continue to raise our salaries, to make our salaries more compatible with neighboring communities. As we move forward, we're working toward, we know that we've improved equipment, and that makes police officers want to be here. We've also helped with housing for our police officers. That helps us to attract and retain officers to this community of Pine Bluff, Arkansas.
Again, thank you. And I often have a lot of conversations in relationship with our police and our fire. And one of the most important things I say to them is that you need to want to live in Pine Bluff. You can leave here and go to Conway and make more money. You can leave here and go to Memphis and make more money. But I want you to learn to want to live in Pine Bluff, Arkansas. And we certainly are working hard on getting you the finances and the monies that you need to make you feel safe and make you feel good about wanting to live in Pine Bluff. But we need you here to make our people safe. We need you here to make a sound settlement for people that's coming in and out of our city. So, police officer, we love you. I certainly do. Fire department, we love you. So we're going to do everything we can to manifest the situation so that you'll feel comfortable and want to be here and serve us in Pine Bluff, Arkansas. Thank you.
So there are several things that we can do to make it easier for our law enforcement. Number one is supporting this group violence intervention program. Law enforcement, police officers, they cannot do the job by themselves. They need this community standing behind them, going out into these neighborhoods, into these schools, helping them carry that burden. And I believe that's one thing that GBI program is doing. Number two, we also have to have job fairs so that we are connecting some of these young people to all these open slots that we have available. That was one of the things that I was honored to do as a project coordinator. We organized job fairs. I believe at one of them, I remember seeing a busload of students come in from our local high schools, and they were going to the tables, and some of them were for our law enforcement. So that's something that I want to do, work with our departments to organize more events like that. And then also I want to support our police chief, Chief Richardson, and the wellness programs that she's been trying to get implemented. I think she's has a very innovative approach to that because pay is very important, and I believe that's something that's been focused upon. But we also have to make sure there are mental health resources available, make sure there's a work-life balance available. So anytime the chief comes to me and says, hey, we need this to improve wellness, I'm going to be right on board with that.
Just a word and a statement. My opponent was working inside the mayor's office, making from $45,000 to $50,000 a year. Alderman's only pays, city councilman only pay $13,000, $14,000 a year. What would make a man want to go from big salary, good salary, to no salary? He said he was a program coordinator in the mayor's office. The things that he said he wanted, he had the mayor's ear. He was working in the mayor's office. So what makes him better to want to be an alderman versus being a coordinator in the mayor's office? And what does that tell you? I'm not a yes vote.
All I'm going to say to that is just that, first and foremost, in all things, I'm a praying man. And so before I decided to run for city council, I felt called to run for this. And my opponent is very right. It was a financial sacrifice for me to step out and to run for this position. But I believe that's what service is about. It's not about me, it's about you. It's not about what I can gain from this position. It's about what we can all gain by working together. And that's always going to be the way I operate.
Next question. I'll just say, clap after everybody. crime is a problem in our city. Specifically, what would you do, the mayor, what have you done to put a stop to the crime that we have?
It's very difficult to put a stop to the crime that you have because there is no community that's exempt from crime. There's no communities that's exempt from violence. One of the things that we have done, though, to improve law enforcement in the city is working with Chief Richardson. We've changed the schedule that the law enforcement officers are working on. They've gone to a schedule where they can get more time in between shifts, and we think that that's helping a lot. We've also made sure that all of our officers have the equipment that they need, and we're making sure that they get more training than what they've ever gotten before. As you know, we remodeled the old library building, and now we have a public service police training center there. And you can come in any day of the week almost, and there's training going on. So we beefed up training. We've also beefed up certification for our police department, which is holding our officers and the entire department to a higher standard. And I can't help but to talk about the GVI program, that is a community-based law enforcement program that is and is going to make and have a much more powerful impact on crime in the city of Pine Bluff as we move forward.
I've said numerous times that we have to address crime from a preventive standpoint. 80% of every dollar goes toward addressing crime issues on the back end, while we spend 20% in preventing crime. We must reinstate our violent crimes task force. Don't know why it was dismantled, but we have to do that. We can't continue with one of the highest homicide rates in the state and in the country, and we dismantle that task force. We have to increase and improve public lighting in this city. We have to expand community and neighborhood policing programming. And finally, other cities have done it, including Whitehall to some extent. Little Rock has done it. We must institute a real-time crime center to create public surveillance in our city for different points of entry, as well as engaging community members across the city utilizing their doorbell cameras and other cameras. Thank you.
So I mentioned it a couple of times. Number one is supporting the group violence intervention program. I believe it's doing a lot of innovative things. I was at one of its most recent meetings, and one of the things it does is crime mapping, crime hots, so it can determine where those hot spots are, and that can direct some of the police patrols. It also has a catalog of some of these people who are causing trouble in our community, and it's all, once you make that catalog, then they make contact with those people and they say, hey, we have jobs available, we have mentorship programs available, we have job training, we have all the things that you need to be productive citizens. Let us help you to get connected to those resources. And if you choose not to do that, if you choose to keep on causing mayhem in this community, then there will be a crackdown. And so that's why we need to support that program. And then there's also things that we can do in our park. Like I said, we need to do systematic assessments, make sure that we have gates where gates are needed to control access during those dark hours when people shouldn't be gathering out there, doing things we can do like maybe cameras and lighting. So that would be all part of that assessment that hopefully we get a chance to do.
Again, thank you for allowing me this opportunity, and of course I do support the GBI program. I notice that it's been said, and I don't like to repeat what somebody else constantly says. I do support that from that, but you know, I recently think that we should start a family night with kids from 11, 10 to 12 every once a month, so that we can get those kids before the street teaches them the crime that we're involved in. But I also think that we need to build those youth a new center, a new youth center, Whereas if we invest in them and they invest back in us by not having crime. And that's the way I feel about that. That's just plain old saying the real thing. But the mayor did say, and I want to say that is so true, every city has crime. But what I have suggested over and over is we buy more cameras and put in these areas. You can't go to most cities, there's not a camera looking at you. So we need to buy more cameras, and that goes with more lighting, but definitely more cameras so that we can see these crimes. Maybe when they understand that we have those cameras watching them, that would deter a whole lot of crime. Thank you.
Next question. This was directed at Mayor Washington, but any of you can answer this question. Why do you feel Go Forward was voted out?
I'm going to be very brief in answering that question. I feel that people like to see things. There may have been a lot of good benefits and results and relationships built as a result of Go Forward, and I feel that that did happen. We had a lot of partnerships formed, a lot of coalitions formed, a lot of attention given to this city from across the state and the nation. And somebody said something about festivals and ball games and all that. But at the end of the day, people want to see tangible results. So I think for part of that period, there weren't those buildings because there were a lot of plans. And then we had COVID to come in. And once COVID came in, once some of those tangible projects weren't completed, weren't even off the table good, numbers changed after COVID. Supply changed, everything changed. And so I don't think there were enough tangible products for people in this community to be satisfied with saying Go Forward benefited them as much as they would have liked to have seen. That's my answer.
First of all, static. First of all, I want to say and clarify that I was against the Go Forward measure as it was explained and written and really implemented. It's been several years. And from the very beginning, my opposition was three-pronged. There was no language or guarantee with regard to transparency and accountability. There was no strong partnership with UAPB to speak of while we brought students and faculty from other colleges in to the planning process. And there was no Pine Bluff promise like there was in El Dorado. We patterned this after El Dorado. And actually, since then, no jobs, no new businesses. So that coupled with the fact that we saw conflicts of interest, we saw money missing, and we ended up being in front of the legislature with findings, people said no. But what I also know is I support an economic development sales and use tax that would incorporate language with those measures. People want that, and if the people say yes, I will make it happen and apply it appropriately. Thank you.
Thought I had finished that question. Really and truly, that was probably over $1.2 million that we could see ourselves that was misappropriated or misplaced. The real problem with Go Forward was that it was not channeled through city government. That was one of my big things. That I thought that the Go Forward group itself wanted to supersede the city government. It is a municipal book that I have over there that I read all the time. It said it was illegal for what we was doing for the Go Forward. Now, people can look and say what all they want to say, but we got an AG's opinion, and the Attorney General said that it was illegal. That's a bottom line. And I have had that persuasion forever. And I said that I will support a tax that is done with transparency. I will support it if it's done with, oh well. I will support a tax, certainly, if the people want that tax, but only if they want that tax, because we are already taxed 13 cents on the dollar, one of the highest in the state. So if these people, if the people of Pine Bluff would like to have a tax, and they say yes to it, with transparency and honesty and what have you, I will be for it. Thank you.
I believe that my personal assessment is, number one, I believe that before the election was called, I think maybe as a community, we could have benefited if we had more time to come together as a community to reflect on what happened with the first 7 years, what did we like, what did we not like, and then also, if we do renew this, what would we like to see over the next 7 years? I believe a little bit of that was done, but not enough to satisfy citizens. I also believe, like the mayor said, I think the election was called a little too soon, that first one, because a lot of projects had not been completed. So before you go to the people and you ask for another term, you have to have a little bit more stuff completed. Trust was also wounded by the financial misconduct that occurred. And then also, as Mr. Brown said, a lot of people have a problem with the structure. So it's just a lesson learned for this community. Next time we have something like that, we all need to come together, make sure we're getting involved, make sure all of our voices are heard. So it's something that we can all buy into before it even gets to the ballot. But we don't need to just hear from you before we do ballot initiatives. We also need people showing up to cleanups, to city council meetings, to mentorship programs. The day to get involved is now, not just whenever we have a new tax on board.
Okay, we just wanted to talk about accountability, and there should have been more government included. That was nothing that the Go Forward initiative or any team could do without approval of the city council. So there was oversight over every project and every dollar spent from the council. Whenever we thought that there was something inappropriate taking place, we ordered an investigation. So we were as transparent, I believe, as you could be. There were always reports made at city council meetings, and I think that they were, everybody was being held accountable, and we were transparent. Thank you.
This is my subject, because I never liked to go forward. It wasn't set up right properly, and I fought from day one. Before day one, I fought this. When they went to various places in the city talking about it, it was always the bias situation. It was always going, you draw the line back to what you wanted, and that's what happened. The mayor just said that everything went through the city council. Zero. That's not correct. I don't know why she said before you didn't tell that. That did not happen. At the beginning of the year, at the end of the year, we put $4.8 or $5 million in the budget. And the Go Forward did what they wanted to do with it. We didn't know anything about it. Go-Kart was going to be built. We didn't know anything about that. They did that on their own. That's why I didn't like it. That's why money was coming up missing in various places, because it never was channeled through city council. Now, if you think I'm kidding, you go out and ask people. You don't have to take my word here tonight. We know that it wasn't channeled right. We know that. And so I don't understand the mayor standing here and tell us that. It's not true.
What he said. It's such a short question, but that was not a dime spent that did not go through the council. So please do not believe that. You can go to the clerk's office, you can check the record. All the projects that were financed through the Grow Forward Initiative had to be approved by the city council.
Okay, we'll start with Mr. Fells on this one. We hear a lot of talk about Main Street while the community streets are falling apart. We hear about the projects completed, but not where the people live. What will each of you do specifically to improve the residential areas of Pine Bluff? Because if you don't improve the residential areas, then Main Street will not matter.
Okay.
Well, I'm right on board with that question because a lot of the things that I've already mentioned, it's about rebuilding our neighborhoods, getting this Clean Team Act. For example, on 34th, I believe, it's usually littered with trash. I believe when our kids have to drive to their school and they're seeing toilets and mattresses on the side of the road, that affects their identity. We have to get into the neighborhood and clean that up. We have to get into the neighborhood. There's a lot of streets that need the lights are out. As project coordinator, one of the things that we did is we would drive around at 9 o'clock p.m., 10 o'clock p.m., 11 o'clock p.m., looking at where these lights are so that we can get them reported. We have to get in there and a lot of these street signs that people can't read. We have to systematically replace these things. I know it's not a grand, shiny new building, so sometimes that's not what gets the headlines, but I believe these nitty-gritty things that can make a world of difference in terms of improving life for our residents. So that's all, those are some of the reasons why I'm running, and I believe in getting into the neighborhood, documenting these things, and working with those department heads to get some solutions in place, because they can't do it alone. They need the assistance of the council members.
Could you read that question for me again, sir? Well, I do understand that we did not spend all the money that we had for the street department this year. I think that if, I'm totally correct, but I think we have like 1.2 or $1.5 million in the bank for street department that we did not use. Every city and every town has problems with bumps and bruises all over the street. Of course, we do have a redo of downtown in the streetscape project. So that's something that we'll have to be looking forward to on a later note. But at the same time, everybody wants good streets in our neighborhood, and that's where, and I'm gonna refer back, that's where the go forward tax went wrong at. They wasn't doing anything in front of your house. They wasn't doing anything to the street that you live on. There was holes and ditches and mosquitoes and things around where nobody was doing anything for the neighborhood. You have to do something for the taxpayers. And that's what that is. And as far as Main Street, we're gonna hold that until we get streetscape fixed. And once we get that fixed, then we can discuss the things about Main Street. Thank you.
So I know everyone expects me to say that we need to strengthen our street department, and yes, I'm going to say that. The street department is $2 to $2.5 million underfunded. And if we don't figure out how to prioritize and focus on our infrastructure, that impacts not only the potholes, not only the overlay of streets other than our main thoroughfares, it impacts our drainage system. So we have to focus on that, we have to prioritize. Animal control. I'm not even gonna say anything more. Animal control needs resources. And then our infrastructure includes more than just the streets. It also includes broadband. We have to focus on our economy so we can grow jobs, so we can affect our public safety and attract people. So there's a short term, but there are also some long-term solutions that we must invest in and understand and get collaboration on. Thank you.
I hate to be redundant. Can you repeat that question? I thought that question dealt with neighborhoods. So.
We hear a lot of talk about Main Street while community streets are falling apart. We hear about the projects completed but not where people live. What will each of you do
we're doing is we're working on restructuring in our street department currently. We're doing an assessment similar to what we've done with our police department with equipment. As you know, when we came in, some of our police officers were driving those big old LTDs and cars that were falling apart. If you look at that equipment now, everybody's in a new car because we have a lease agreement with Enterprise. We're looking at doing the same thing for our street equipment. We're working with the Arkansas Municipal League. There are some companies out there that will rent us the crucial equipment that we need so that we can make the major street repairs that we need to make. We also are focusing on housing in our communities throughout the city. Through urban renewal, we've removed hundreds and hundreds of houses through blight. Right now, we just need our residents to help us keep it clean in their neighborhoods, and we're focusing on that through code enforcement. So improvements are starting from Main Street to the back street and the backwoods as we move this city forward so that we can make this a clean, wholesome community that any and everybody will be proud to call home.
I just wanted to highlight a couple of points. That was a good question, but it ignores the fact that you still can't drive down Main Street. The other thing that I would like to point out is that as it relates to our neighborhoods, the housing issue is not a housing issue. We could accommodate over almost 60,000 people, but much of our housing stock is abandoned. We have to do what we can to reinvest and restore our economy, and expand our infrastructure so that people can move here and help restore the housing stock that exists.
And when it comes down to restoring the housing stock that exists, I would tell you that that is happening. It's happening at a more aggressive rate now than ever. We have a young lady in the room right now who has moved to this town, who has probably restored over 20 homes. We have other investors that we are meeting with on a weekly, almost daily basis, who are coming in to invest in this city, who are getting ready to build houses by the block. We have one group that's getting ready to start 13 houses right now. We demolished the old Southeast School, and we're getting ready to put 120 housing units in there, senior living and affordable living. We have people revamping this city, and I met with a lady just today who just moved to Pine Bluff in November, and she's remodeling her home and other homes. So that's going to happen, and you're going to see an explosion of that throughout the community if we can stay the course.
I don't have another question this time, thank you very much. At any rate, according to what the mayor just said, and I do agree with us building those apartments, but I'm also in agreement with where we tear down the house, we need to put a house back. Because what we do is we leave that vacant space, grass either grow up or either the neighbor next door don't like the way it looks. And so I think that when we build apartments, we're actually saying that they're not going to live there. Nobody's going to live there anymore because the older people are dead and gone, or in New York somewhere staying with their children. So, and we setting up with a lot that nobody lives on. And here's something else. It basically goes to the county. But when there's a house on a lot, there are more taxes being paid. There's no taxes being paid on a vacant lot. When there's a house on that lot, you get taxes. Thank you.
There's been a couple of references to the legislative audit, so I'm going to ask a question that I came up with on that subject. The city was called on the carpet by the state legislative office for a variety of fiscal issues, including the purchase of hundreds of thousands of dollars of golf carts without proper sign-offs. The mayor has said that the city was cleared, that the city did nothing wrong. Mayor, can you go into more detail on that encounter, and will the other candidates weigh in as well? Was the city actually cleared of all wrongdoing?
Yes, the city was cleared by the state legislative auditors and the state board of all wrongdoings, because we did have an employee who did not follow procurement procedures, and we put measures in place so that that won't happen again. But as far as the city doing something that was illegal or that was wrong, we did not as a city. And yes, we were completely cleared of that.
The city wasn't cleared.
Thank you.
The way that legislative audit works is the auditors bring information before audit. And audit can either hold it and ask for more information later. Audit is also gonna, the audit committee is also gonna ask whether or not any wrongdoing was turned over to the prosecutor. There may be decisions made, for example, for smaller cities to be dismantled. So legislative action can come from it, but basically it is a review of information, and either it gets reviewed or it comes back again. So there is no clearing. And if you go back and look at the video, because I was there, Representative Ferguson and I did what we could to make sure that the city wasn't raked across the coals, because we know that we don't clear or prosecute anything. But what you'll find is that the audit committee was told that we have made some changes and put things in place so that what did happen won't happen again. So if we needed to not make something happen again, why would we need to make changes? That's number one. And number two, the audit committee was assured or it was confirmed that information was sent to the prosecutor's office. So there was no clearing, there was no prosecution, there was clarity, and that information was provided.
I don't have the same level of interpretation that Representative Flowers has. All I do know is that I stood around after the hearing and I talked to legislators and I asked people if we were clear. I've also spoken with the legislative auditors since then. I actually met with those auditors last week to ask if there would be any repercussions from what happened in that last experience that we had with the golf carts being purchased. They told me that no, you have been completely cleared of that. And I've been told that by the legislative auditors, and I was told that by the folk in Little Rock when we had the hearing. That's what I know.
What I just shared with you is not interpretation, that is the legislative process. I've been in the legislature for 10 years, almost, and I served on audit. And that is not to take anything away from anybody. It is a matter of interpretation for someone who's not a part of the process and may not understand. What I just said is the case, and what I'll also say is you might ask an auditor, hey, were we cleared? And for all intents and purposes, that maybe they did respond that way. You will not see the audit committee and you will not see the auditor's office send anything in writing saying that the audit committee cleared anybody, because we don't clear anybody. Thank you.
You ready for more?
My statement is very brief, and that is, with the legislative audit, the mayor did not give us a copy of it. I had to ask for that copy during a city council meeting, and today, I still haven't received it. And all I get from the people is what happened to that money. Who's gonna pay that money back? That's what they're saying to me. And so, I don't know how the mayor escaped those questions, but that's what happened. Thank you.
Councilmember Brown, you may not have read it, but everybody was given a copy of that audit report.
I think this goes right back to what I mentioned a few moments ago in terms of everybody getting involved.
Yeah.
Whenever you go home or maybe in the morning after you've gotten some rest, the audit is online. You can read exactly what it says yourself. Of course, it identified some wrongdoing by certain individuals within the city who are no longer with the city. Everybody knows about that. It was in the paper. But the auditors, nobody said that any further employees did anything that was, out of order. And I believe that we shouldn't throw accusations. If there is an accusation, let's address it with evidence and move on from there. But I think at the heart of this question, what it's going about is transparency. People just want to feel like they can trust the city government. And we have to acknowledge that something did happen that has damaged that trust. So for all of us, whether we were involved in it or not, we just all have to do our part to come together and actually heal that trust that was broken. So things that we can do is just making sure that all documents are available. Of course, you call down to City Hall, you can see anything that you want to. If anybody refuses, you can complain about it and there will be consequences for that under state law. Let's make sure these documents are available online. Let's make sure all of our meetings are public as they are. Let's make sure these things are on the website. So let's stop I know that there was a hurt that was done, but let's figure out what we can do to move forward together to actually heal that hurt as a community.
Okay, so several people have asked about streets, street repair, street department. So I'm going to mash these all together. Let's give them 2 minutes on this one. Street department's had several directors, 2 within the past year. Why is there so much turnover? And is the turnover some of the reason our streets are in such bad shape? Mashed together with, do they have adequate equipment? Mashed together with, they had a budget of $1.5 million in the street repair account. Why is there still $1.1 million left there? That's all. Let's start.
The street department job, first and foremost, is very challenging. It's probably one of the most challenging departments that we have in our city. We had a retired department manager who did leave. We did advertise for that job, and it's very difficult to find someone who has the experience, the level of experience that you really need to manage and operate that street department. So that, I'm not going to lie and say that has not been a challenge, because it has been. One of the guys thought that it was a job that he could manage, and it was more of a challenge than what he wanted, so he was in retirement at one point. Was at wastewater. He came to work for us, and he decided he wanted to go back into retirement. The other young man who came onto that job really found that he wasn't capable of leading that team. So we are without a director at this time. We're advertising for that job. And I'll say to you all, if you know someone who you feel has the capability of managing the street department, let us know. Have them to fill out an application so we can interview them, because it's challenging. And I can't tell you that it's not. We'd like to have that engineer. We'd like to have that person who has that insight to directing. Do we have all of the equipment and everything that we need? We do prepare that. We do supply that. But are we where we want to be? We are not. That's the reason we're looking at the option of leasing some of that equipment. And that's one of the phases that one of the processes that we're going through right now. We're concerned about maybe even contracting out some of that work. We don't know if that's the route that we'll go, but we do know that we're revamping the street department so that we can become more effective and more efficient with repairing the streets in this city. We're also going after more grant money. We just secured a few weeks ago a $300,000 grant to repair some street areas, and we're making an application now for another grant that's going to help us with that, with the street projects that are on the table. Thank you.
I stated before, the street department is $2 to $2.5 million underfunded, and you've not heard anyone say that it's not underfunded. It's a matter of priorities. It's a matter of infrastructure priority. That is what is going to strengthen our economy. That's what's going to strengthen and help clean up our neighborhoods. Maybe a couple of decades ago, we had over 75 people who worked for the street department. Now we have a little over 25. Same area of the city, right? The capacity is low. And if we don't prioritize so that we provide the adequate capacity, the work won't get done. That's why you see money left in that budget every year. We don't have the capacity. We had an engineer who came from wastewater. We had an engineer, and actually while he was there, he spent all that money, and we saw some improvement. We have to find the right people to lead those departments, experts, provide the adequate resources, and get out of the way and let them do their jobs.
We have the $1.4 million, not because it was money left over from any budget. It's because it was special money appropriated to the city from the opera money. The street department director that we had spent all the money that he had in that budget, and he had a large amount that was left from carryover funds from the previous director. But as a result of spending all that money, we saw little to no improvements in our streets. That was one of the reasons he hit a level maybe of frustration. We may be underfunded, but we're not that much underfunded in that street department. And are we underfunded to a degree that we can't fix all streets at one time? Yes, we are. But as I said, we are working on that. We're constantly writing new grants. We're constantly securing, trying to get that equipment, securing the bids that we need for the equipment that we need as we move that street department forward. Thank you.
As I said earlier, every city has a problem with street bumps and bruises. I hear it on the news every day, Little Rock, Bend, and Bryant, various other places. But I do want to say this, that nobody in this room other than myself probably know about how mayors get elected. Every mayor in the olden days got elected by the streets that they fixed in front of your house. My daddy retired from the street department, so I definitely know. I grew up from a dirt road to a gravel road to a blacktop with some tar on the top of it. With some gravel on top, black tar on top of the gravel. So I can tell you about all that. Mayors was elected because of what they did to your streets. But what has happened through the years that mayors have turned it into a business of hiring and firing, and they have forgotten the streets. They're just lonely. And I can start with Austin Franks and Chuck Moore. I can tell you about Carolyn Robinson and Dave Wallace, and of course Dutch King. And it comes on down the line. But what has happened? Those cities, those streets have been neglected for years. And now you have bumps and bruised streets, and it's hard to correct those streets, to come out and put a patch on it in a day and a half. It's open again because either too hot or the rain has hit it and opened those holes up. So yes, COVID has $1.5 million somewhere in our bank that should go to the street department, but it's not there. Okay. I mentioned that UAPB debate or forum that we had that we were probably a little underfunded from the street department. But believe you me, people are tired of tearing up their vehicles. I walked from UAPB back to my barbershop, walked, and I picked up 15 screws. And they didn't fall off a truck, they fell off your motor. Okay? So I just want to tell you that we do need to work on our streets. But in the olden days, mayors were elected by what they did to the street department. Thank you.
I believe that turnover is a big problem, not only for the city of Pine Bluff. It's not a major problem, but it is an issue for the city, but it's also an issue for a lot of businesses here in Pine Bluff and in the United States in general. If any of you own your own business or you work at a small business, whatever the case may be, you know that it is getting harder and harder and harder to hire people. And that's the case here in Pine Bluff. And I believe that we have to have programs in place. Well, there are a lot of programs in place, but I believe the council should be working to connect some of the residents to some of those workforce programs that exist here in Pine Bluff. Because a lot of times when people show up to a job and they don't have the skill sets or whatever the case may be, of course they're going to quit within 3 months. So for example, when CRC, when they developed their CDL program, that was a big resource for the city's transit department and the street department because suddenly we had a new pipeline for some of those workers. I believe also at UAPB, we need to be making sure that we are having some partnerships with the university so those students that they are growing and cultivating, they can be aware of some of the jobs that exist within the city and they can have a job on day one after graduating. We have a tremendous resource here in Pine Bluff when it comes down to that university. So let's make sure we're tapping into it. And I think when we do things like that, we can grow that talent and we can have people who move into these positions and they can have long, lustrous careers that, last decades and decades and decades. And another thing, government, we can't do it by ourselves. It takes parents in the home to instill that work ethic into our young people. You have to show up on time. You have to make sure you are dressed properly. When your supervisor gives you an instruction, whether you agree or not, you better keep it inside and do what you're told to do. So, it's a multifaceted approach. There are things that I would have a responsibility to do as a council member, and then there are some things that we all just have to do in our everyday lives as mothers, fathers, brothers, whatever the case may be.
Did I misunderstand the question? I thought my opponent was going to talk about the streets. When it had something to do with streets and roads or something of that nature. Could you read that question for us again, please? I know you got a lot of them. It was about the money? Okay.
Street department's had 3 directors, 2 within the past year. One, is there some turnover? Is there turnover some of the reasons?
He just like it. He just like it.
What's do they have?
I just talked to him, sure.
But this is not a question for me to be in opposition to my opponent, but he did not answer the question. He was talking about something else. We were talking about streets and roads, and he started talking about something else. At any rate, yes, I feel like the street department is underfunded, and at the same time, that we do need to push more finances on the street department. But I did not hear my opponent answer that question. So you may have loved what he was saying, but I did not hear that. So that's all I have to say on that part. And we need to pertain to the question that I asked and not what we're saying as a collective effort, because he's saying things to make the audience feel good and laugh and clap. But I'm saying things that you need to know from your city alderman. I'm not trying to make you like me because I say the right things. I'm trying to tell you what we do. And I like to say thank you.
Okay, this is kind of another mashup of multiple questions. Let's give him 2 minutes on this one too. Okay. Yes. Okay, we're going to take a 5-minute break for the candidates to stretch their legs, and we'll reconvene
Right.
If I can get your attention just for a minute while they're on break, we got a real important announcement. Hold on. While they're on break, so we won't have to make this announcement at the end of the meeting, we have someone here that has some information that we want you to take these with you in reference to voting. And I'm gonna let her come up and so I won't have to go through it. Come on, just show them what you
I
get.
want to thank you for letting me do this. My name is Paulette Bickman.
Y'all just tell people be quiet.
My name is Paulette Bickman. I'm a lifelong Pine Bluffian, and I've always been eager to make sure voter involvement is maximized. And so I took it upon myself to check with the Secretary of State's office to get some fact finding, because a lot of people in the public believe that if they didn't vote in March, they can't vote in the runoff. You can vote in the runoff if you were a registered voter by March 4th. So make sure you tell your friends. We have cards that we're going to give out at the door that explains all that. It gives the county clerk's number if you have any questions. So we'll make sure we maximize the vote for this runoff election. Thank you.
Thank you for that announcement. That is great information. We need to know that.
He said March.
Please take one of these with you so you can pass it on.
No, she said if you were registered.
I'm not being messy, but all that's on there. I'm just letting you know. Don't start. Don't start. I'm just saying. Look. I ain't trying to be. I got one up here giving facts and one up here lying.
I have very motivated polls out there. She big.
Steve, am I right? No, I'm not going to it's information on that, but I'll pick him up. You need that? I went by the whole thing, somebody pick him up. You told me to put him in? Yeah. Somebody pick him up. I got the rest of I told all this work. Man, I be at work, man. She just called me at 10 o'clock. I'm at work. Oh, okay, well, I'll call you back. Oh, she'll come up there. You got 263. We got 267. Keep telling me going down. I mean, why you here? You moving around there. Toward the end, so what's that? All right. Sit down.
I know. You ain't sitting
I want to be.
Hey, you gonna do like you did. I was shocked, girl. I was happy. I feel you moving. I like that. I was shocked myself.
You
I've been watching this show. You already got it. I've been watching this show.
This is just basically letting you know who can vote. Everybody can vote if you're registered. A lot of people think that I didn't vote in March, so I can't vote in the runoff. Yes, you can. Yeah. Facebook page.
They working it on the working me and it's hard out here
Okay, can we get started? That was the 7th inning stretch. We got a couple more innings.
You go? No, I'm just looking for it.
So this too is kind of a mashup of questions. We'll give them 2 minutes. So we've had several go forward Pine Bluff kind of questions, so I'm going to put these together. During the time period before the last election for Go Forward Pine Bluff, there was visible efforts in completing the project started by Go Forward. But since it was not passed, I no longer see any efforts. What has happened with these projects since the last election, combined with what are the financial commitments that have been made by Go Forward Pine Bluff? And what will fall back on the city to pay for? And in your world, what does the city continue funding and what does it drop? Yeah. So the first part of the question was, since the election, this person has not seen much evidence of progress on Go Forward projects. What has happened with these projects since the last election? And the second part of the question is, what financial commitments has Go Forward made? How much of those will fall back on the city? And in your world, what do we keep funding and what do we drop? Mayor, you want to take the first shot?
Since the last election, Go Forward projects have continued to move forward. If you're driving down Main Street and you come to the corner of 6th and Main, you can see the project there is very much underway, probably 80 to 85% nearing completion. I drove through there today and I saw the workers working diligently on that particular project. And if any of you have been down there, I'm sure that you've seen the same. So that's one of the projects that's still underway. Then the go-kart project is still underway as well. The carts have been ordered. The track the ground is ready for the track. We're looking for an operator, and we've met with an operator. Ron Wiley and I have met with a person who can possibly operate, and with that project is on track moving forward as well. Now, I told you that during COVID things were set back. Yes, but we're on track moving forward. The Go Forward money will come in through the month of September, but they're always 2 months behind with tax collection. We always are. So funds will continue to come in through October and November. And Go Forward will continue to work to execute and finish projects throughout the rest of this year. Hopefully, they will have funding to finish all those projects. But if there are some projects that are left incomplete, we're trying to make sure that we have funds in reserve to finish them. But right now, it looks like Go Forward will finish on target with finishing those projects by the end of the year and having money to complete each of those projects. If you've looked at the housing over on near Forest Park School, I can't think of the streets right now off the top of my head, those houses are very much underway. They're probably 65 to 70% completed, and those projects are going to be completed as well. I feel like every project that they had on the table this far will be completed before the end of 2024.
You've heard the outline of and the update, and I don't question any of that. What I would say is that you shouldn't have to ask at a candidate forum. And this is what I'm talking about when I speak of transparency. When I speak of accountability, when this measure was first voted on, you should have had an outline knowing what the projects your money would go toward. There should be an ongoing tally of the monies that are collected online on the city's website. And there should be an ongoing tally or update on the website of those projects, contracts that have been done, what the status is, what the timeline is. If we had that kind of accountability, if we had that kind of transparency on the front end, the division that we've seen over the years would have not been existent, not at the level that it was. You wouldn't have to ask anyone in city government. You would see it. You would know it. You would feel confident in it. So what I would say is, for any measure that might pass by the people in the future, that is something that I'm committed to do. Transparency and accountability must be a part of the fabric of the city and how we do business. For all of our projects, we don't even have to wait for a tax. You should be able to go to the city's website and look to see the city's minutes. You should be able to look to see what resolutions and ordinances have been offered, what the status of those are, whether they fail or pass. You should be able to look at a history of our budgets so you can see 10 and 20-year comparisons of what they look like. That is what I promise you in the Flowers administration. Thank you.
And much of what she said you should be able to see, you can see. And I agree with my opponent that transparency is important. It's important when you run a city. You need to know where money comes from. You need to know where money is spent and how to stretch every dollar of hard-paying taxpayers' dollars that serve this community. That's why I was concerned to learn that in 2017, the Arkansas Ethics Commission issued a fine to a legislator for 32 violations of failing to file campaign finance reports. That legislator was Representative Flowers. In 2020, she was fined again after filing her report 142 days late. Earlier this year, in 2024, I filed my campaign finance report. Former council member Alexander Robinson filed her campaign report. We saw it on the front page of the Pine Bluff commercial. Well, guess what? Representative Flowers has not filed her campaign report. So if she's not staying on top of what she's doing right here and now, how do we know that that transparency, how do we know that that level of accountability will be in place if she becomes our next mayor? This seems to be a pattern. Whether Representative Flowers has something to hide or just does not respect the law and the procedures, it's bad for Pine Bluff. Our city budget is a lot more complicated than a basic campaign.
This is a rebuttal. I don't have to kill anybody with grace in anything. The record is the record. I was late, and my reports did get filed. See, sometimes life happens. Many people in this room know I have two very sick parents. And sometimes when you're a legislator and you don't have a full staff, you don't have a staff at all, you get it done when you can. The accountability in this is I was late, and guess what? I was fined. And I wasn't, the 32 counts were alleged, and that was because of a mistake that had been made where it affects the next one. But the bottom line is, if you're explaining if you're losing, I'm not losing. I paid my fine, I was accountable. And that's what you have to do.
Back to the reference of the question about the projects, and that was about the projects of the go forward. People, we all know that this tax amasses anywhere from $4.5 to $5 million a year. We do know that. And we do know that thus far it's been 6 years, and if you multiply that, it's close to about $32 or $33 million. I don't see a brand new building. I don't see anything that has happened. I don't see the go-kart going on. I don't see nothing. And I do know that we put $3.8 million in the budget for this year. Now, I'm going to tell you, just like it's 3.8, I know we passed the budget, it's no doubt, because it's September, and we didn't go to the end of the year. So it ends in September, that's $3.8 million. The projects, I don't know whether they have enough money, because they are secretive with their project. Initially, they spoken had a partnership, whereas you get money from the city and the private put their monies in too. I've never really liked that because when you build that building or that project, who owns it? Who gets the proceeds from it? What happens is you use tax dollars to build it. So who owns it when it's over? Somebody please tell me that. So I don't really know. So that's why I never really liked that partnership. I never really liked that public partnership. But they used up our money completely. And I never saw any of their money. They may have some, but I didn't see it. So the mayor is saying that they will finish their project. Maybe they'll finish their project with the money they should have already used that we gave them over the 30 million. Or maybe they'll find some private money. Thank you.
So I can't speak to the status of current projects. I'm not involved in those meetings at all. But I do know that the city should be people of their word. We should all be people of our word. So if any contracts have been signed off on, and if it would result in any legal action, for example, for us to cut off that contract, I believe we would have a legal obligation to the citizens to honor that commitment. With that being said, the citizens have voted to move on from this initiative. So if we no longer have those tax dollars, we're going to have to come together as a community and have some tough conversations, some hard conversations about what programs and initiatives we'll be able to continue funding and which ones that we'll have to cut. And if the tax dollars are no longer available, then it's, stands to reason that if anything is still on the table, we may have to make those hard decisions. But whatever comes our way, I just hope that we can all come together, be involved in those conversations. Don't sit out, no matter whether you support it, go for it, or you are against, go for it. Come to those meetings, get involved, make sure your voice is heard, because we all have to stop viewing each other as opponents, as someone on the other side of the aisle. When it floods on the street, it doesn't care if you're a Go Forward supporter or not. It's gonna flood. So we all have to just work together on a new vision for Pine Bluff, new priorities for Pine Bluff. We can't move into the future. We keep arguing about the past, people.
We started at 6:15, so ask one or two more questions. So this is the group violence intervention program has gotten mentioned a lot tonight, and the fact that we are spending $500,000 on that project. 11 of 28 homicides last year were victims. They were 18 years of age or younger, so I can see why we are aiming this at the younger population. But explain where that money's coming from, how it's being spent, and answer the question, are we pinning too much hope on this one outlet? What are we doing above and beyond this group violence program to quell these awful statistics of crime?
I want to be clear in that that $500,000 did come from the ARPA money. That's the and it wasn't $500,000 over 1 year. It's $500 over a period of 5 years. So it's the $500,000 is $100,000 per year. This is a research-based program, and we have gone to Philadelphia, we've gone to Chester, Pennsylvania, we've gone to York, Pennsylvania, and I think there was another city that we went to observe this program in action, where it has reduced violence in those communities, and we know that it can do it in this community. It brings with it a lot of components, and with it, as a result of those components that comes with that program, there are a lot of wraparound services for our kids. So our program is going back to elementary school. We have our coordinator, Reverend Crumpton, who's out in those schools on a daily basis. It goes back to the elementary schools, the junior high schools, and then the senior high schools. It also works through the courts, through District Court 2, not District Court 2, Judge Ernest Brown's Juvenile Court. So it's a program that we feel is going to embrace the kids with the services and the support that they need. We have law enforcement officers from the Pine Bluff Police Department, from the Jefferson County Sheriff's Department. The prosecutor is on board, along with the district court, the juvenile court judge. They're all on board. And we know that if we can be effective and efficient, keep this program going, it's going to reduce crime, it's going to reduce homicides. and we're talking about juvenile homicides in Pine Bluff, Jefferson County. We can already see benefits from it because the work that's going on in the school has made our schools a lot quieter. When we go into the schools and talk to the teachers and administrators, some of the issues, some of the uproars that they had in the school in 2022, 2023 are not happening in 2023, 2024, and we hope that that will continue.
I'm really looking forward to progress that could come from that program, and I'm grateful for the great work that Judge Brown is doing. But what I will also say is that violent crime, particularly homicides, and particularly the murder of our children, has been happening long before now, last year. This particular administration over the last almost 8 years, and prior to that. And I think that the real question is, as ARPA is one-time money, if it is effective, how are we going to fund it moving forward? Number one, but also number two, when we talk about accountability, and we know that these issues preceded this administration, but we come before you and brag about removing bricks, but we're 7 years in, pointing to one program to resolve these issues. I think we have to and we can do better. Again, we have to go back to programs that we know work, to focus on our youth, to provide opportunities. Everyone in here has children or children you know, people who have grandchildren, and I don't know about you, but I'm tired, number one, of the violence. I'm also tired of seeing young people, when they graduate high school or graduate college, leave here. If we don't focus on our young people and invest in them in between elections, we will continue to see the population loss that we've seen and that I've been talking about during this campaign. I will do better. I will focus, and I will be very intentional and create partnerships that focus on providing access to programming for our youth across the wards and throughout the city. Thank you.
Just for that comment, I don't want anybody to think that I'm only focused and concerned about our young people during election years. I'm concerned, I'm visible, I'm active, I'm making measures and putting things in place throughout the year. So it's not about just an election period for me. I'm out there, as I said, I'm in your schools, I'm in your churches, I'm out there. We're also working with our summer youth work program. We know that coupling that, jobs will come with this program. We're offering kids jobs through GVI, and we know that's going to curb violence as well as we move forward. And these are not things that I'm doing just because this is a political year. These are things that I do on an ongoing basis.
Yes, I too believe that we have to deal with our youth early in the stages of their little lives. And I certainly agree with what the mayor just said, that I don't just talk about youth because this is an election year. I talk to youth every day. If you see me flirting in the grocery store, not flirting, I'm talking to you trying to get them to go to school. Boys or girls. And if I can post those that sag, I talk to those too. I'm approaching the young women that wearing tattoos all the way by. Please don't let me hurt nobody by saying that. I'm just trying to give them a better appearance so they can make a better way in life. So I talk about our kids. I did say earlier that I think that we should build a bigger, better, and a new youth center for our kids. So in return, we show them something, they show us something. I think the GVI program is good, and I think it works. But we've had so many programs in the past that starts out in high gear and ends up in low gear. So we're going to try to keep funding the GVI program so that we can have a mainstream thought on what our youth get involved in and what they don't get involved. But lastly, I think that we need to start having a youth parent
night once a month. I think that we gotta find a way to get the parents involved without saying we're gonna arrest you, without saying that we're gonna do this. We need to be able to collaborate with those kids and parents so that we can have a better setup. Thank you.
So first of all, the GBI program is not just about creating a new program or duplicating services that already exist. Number one, it's a strategy about identifying resources that already exist in the community, and then you have dedicated staff in place who are going to be working with these young people almost like a caseworker and connecting them to resources. So for example, if we have mental health services at our behavioral center, that staff person can be in the school districts. They also do home visits. They can identify that need, and they can work with that family to get that student, that person connected to that resource. And like I said, this is something that's never been done before in Pine Bluff. It's been successful in other communities. It's an evidence-based program. It's not something that was just invented here. It's shown results in reducing crime, and I believe that it can here too if we are all united and doing whatever we can to make it successful. Will it be perfect? No. Throughout the years, we're going to have to continue to tweak this program and improve it. Is it going to solve everything? No. And then also, is it our only hope? No. There are a lot of amazing people who are doing great things here in our communities. I won't name a specific group. I don't want to get in trouble, but they already have programs in place. And then, like I said earlier, I think we have to remember this in Pine Bluff. Local government in general cannot do the job alone of saving our youth, saving our young people. We all have a collective responsibility. So our school districts, I think I'm glad to see the new school board and all the changes that they've been making in that district, because in Pine Bluff, if we don't turn these schools around, it's not going to matter what any of us elected officials are doing. This town is going to be in trouble. So the school district, they have a major responsibility into this. And then also the families. We can have the best schools in the United States of America. If our students are showing up and they're disrupting the class environment, our parents are not there to back up the teacher and make sure there is discipline and structure, it's not going to matter what type of new buildings that we have. So I believe, yes. So I'm grateful for that question. I'm grateful for that question. There are things that we need to do as elected officials, potential elected officials, but the residents, we all have to look in the mirror and ask ourselves, what can I do also?
Okay, we have been at this for 2 solid hours. I'm going to, let's give them 2 minutes for closing. Mr. Fowles, let's start with you. You ready?
Well, I want to thank you all for your civic engagement, your commitment to being out here, being involved, listening to the issues. I want to thank you to all the organizers who put this together for us, especially in such a short period of time. So for 4 years, I had the pleasure of working in the community as a project coordinator. I've worked with others to organize the cleanups, help develop the Second Chance Initiative, and also lead the Advancing Health Literacy Program. I've worked with people to implement services for people. And so these are things that I'm hoping to do as on the city council, only be able to take it to the next level. I'm running so I can do what I can to help improve our quality of life, overhaul some of these streets, and support programs that can reduce violent crime. I think it's very important for you all to know I've never accomplished a single great thing in my life alone, by myself. I don't think anybody has. And so in order for this to be successful, I need your support. I need you to get out there and vote again in this runoff election. But most importantly, I don't want to not see you again after the election if I am successful. I'm looking forward to working with you as we strive to make this a community that will be a better place to live, work in, and find opportunity. Vote William Fells for City Council, Ward 3.
Again, thank you all for coming out. Thank you for the assemble that we put together tonight. I think it was terrific. I got a chance to get some slugs in, and I think some was thrown back at me too. So it was terrific. I think that we don't need to be doing forums anymore. We actually be doing debates and talk about what we can do and cannot do or want to do for our city and our people. I do love you, Pine Bluff. I want to do what it takes to make Pine Bluff a greater and a better place. I want a quality of life. I want that. I want that in a real serious matter. I think that the people in Pine Bluff need someone in their office that's gonna stand up and be trustworthy. You can trust me. I would do that. I will not forsake you from what I think that is the right thing to do. You won't be able to buy me, you won't be able to bribe me, and that's what's so important. I asked you to search my record to see if I changed the vote because some big businesses told me that they want me to change it. I asked you to search my record to see have I done anything that was illegal. Have I taken money that I shouldn't have taken? Go to that. Go find that. But hey, I've been offered envelopes that thick with money in it. I cannot call names. I will not call names, but I have been offered money to certain projects, and that's just not my cup of tea. I have grandchildren and children at home, and plus you look at me, and to see something like that is horrible. I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't, do gambling. I love the casino, but the problem is, and I love fishing, but the problem is, I'm gonna do what it takes to make Pine Bluff a better place. Constantly, I'm always in somebody in the mayor's office. They know every meeting that we have. I talk about, unless they tell me to shut up. I talk about the things that Pine Bluff needs, and they'll tell me we got to go tonight. Don't talk, but I talk about the things that Pine Bluff needs. The restaurants. When you have restaurants, then you put on shows, or you put on things at our Zig Center, at our nature center. People come in and buy things. They come in and spend money. So those tax dollars from those other places comes in our city, and it takes a less of a burden off the people that live here because we have the taxes that we need. And I'd like to say thank you again. Thank you.
So I'd like to share something that I haven't done at these candidate forums because I don't like to toot my own horn and sound braggadocious, but I'm going to tell you what I've been doing in the legislature. I've secured funding for UAPB more than once. I've secured funding and started a process that led to the $32 million funding for our watershed for flood prevention, and I'm still working to make sure that that gets done. I've ensured fair transition and jobs for state workers. When the women's prison closed, we made sure that those employees got jobs when people were leaving them to hang out to dry. I passed legislation to end child marriage, to prohibit the conflict of interest, created the Delta Rhythm and Bayous Highway, transferred the ownership of the Entertainers Hall of Fame to Pine Bluff, made sure that we received grant funds for the opening and the completion of the Aquatic Center, expanded the FOIA law, which is going to be included in legislation and a constitutional amendment that's on the ballot, protected pharmaceutical drug resources for the most vulnerable Arkansans. That law was challenged in court by some of the big drug companies, and today it was upheld by the 8th Circuit. So I've been busy. Sometimes I need to be in Little Rock. Sometimes I need to be in Washington, D.C. to get the work done for you. And as mayor, I will utilize that experience and those resources for you. I will be home and make sure the job gets done. I have served, and I would never question anyone else's service. I have been here in between campaigning, and I would never, ever question what someone does, but I will reveal the facts. And the fact is that if we do not do something about safety, if we do not improve and enhance our transportation infrastructure, we won't see the growth that we need. If we don't bring people together to work, you can't just say it. You can't say that you bring the city council together and then find people to run against folks. You have to work with the people who you elect, I will do that as your next mayor. Thank you.
Yeah. So that part.
I'd like to thank all of those of you who are responsible for this program and giving us the opportunity here tonight. One of the things I did last week was I traveled to Hot Springs. I traveled to watch the Zebras win back-to-back state championships. So let's give a big round of applause. Anyone from across the state, anyone from across the nation watching the game saw the talent and the potential in our kids, and they saw the talent and potential in our community. At one point, these boys were 14 points behind, but they didn't lose faith. They were resourceful, they persevered, they showed flashes of individual brilliance, but their strength came through not from the coaching so much, even the coach said himself, but it came through them working together. And if we're going to continue to grow in this community, that's what we have to continue to do. When I took office, I felt that our city was down 14 points. Every day, I felt the challenges of playing from behind. When we face disasters like floods, tornadoes, winter storms, COVID-19, we could have turned inwards and looked out only for ourselves. But instead, our community rallied together and we said, I am my brother's keeper. I am my sister's keeper. This all did not happen. It didn't happen by accident. It took leadership. It took vision, experience in City Hall to bring our community together and take us through the many tough challenges that we faced. Pine Bluff is a special place. It's full of people who keep the faith. Our city motto is that we are a city of progress. Progress does not always come in a straight line. My time is up. It has false starts, it has mishaps. But thanks to the work of this community, we have laid the foundation for the rebuilding, the rebirth, and the revitalization of our city. Like the Zebras last week, it's time for a Pine Bluff comeback. I'm running for mayor to finish the job that we have started, the job that we have started together. And you can see from what we have on board, I have not always put folk up to run for office. They make their own decisions. And they make their decisions for their reasons because they're qualified and they have a passion and they're led to go into those jobs. I ask you to go back to the polls and elect Shirley Washington your mayor until we are ready for secession.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you to the organizers. Thank you all for turning out. Special thanks to the candidates.
We got a couple quick announcements. Ms. Alderman, would you come and make that announcement of what we have coming from Little Rock? You all need to know this. We have a petition that we want to make everybody aware of. And while she's coming, let me say that someone gave me this and I want to read it to you. Too many of my friends gave their lives for our rights to vote.
Yeah.
I think about them every time I step into a voting booth. I remember their faces. I remember the sound of their voice. I wonder what could have been for them and for us, who have been cheated of the light of their life by man-made and murderers. We must never, ever forget their sacrifice. We must honor it. We must cherish it. Tell your friends we must vote. John Lewis, remember that. Come on, Mr. Aldrin.
Thank you, Mr. President. I wanted him to make this announcement, but he made me do it. But the Pine Bluff Branch and the Arkansas State Conference and all of the units of the NAACP over the state of Arkansas is in collaboration with 3 or 4 other organizations that have successfully, after 4 tries of getting a ballot title for an initiative to amend the LEARNS Act. Very successful. But we need your help because we have to get over 90,000 signatures in order to get it on the ballot. The Arkansas Public Policy Panel is the lead organization, and there are a number, they're requesting volunteers, and there are a number of training sessions that will be held for the volunteers so that we don't make the mistake of, having to turn, after we go through all the work of getting those 90,000 signatures, having to put, not be on the ballot. So there are training opportunities available. And the website is for AR Kids, and I don't remember if it's .com or .org, but if you Google it, you can find, if you Google for AR Kids, then you'll be able to go to that website and get detailed information about that initiative. But the LEARNS Act left out a number of things that we're trying to get the law amended to include, especially pre-K and holding private schools accountable for many of the things that the public schools are held accountable for. So, if you got a hand back there,
For that announcement, yes, sir.
Mr. President, isn't that training to be solicitors of signatures a requirement, or the signatures won't count? So you gotta go to the training?
I'm not sure. I know they're going to have several, they've got a list of areas such as volunteerism and how to fill out the form, those kinds of trainings. I'm not sure that that's required. It may be. But like I said, you can go to that website and you can get specific instructions.
We want to thank the moderator, thank our time. Let's get them a hand. We need some volunteers to stick around, so we got to set to the table. Men and women. It's that kind of day now. Men and women. Brother Turner, come and give us a benediction. Y'all give us 30 seconds.
Let us pray. Let us pray. Father God, we thank you for this evening. We thank you for all that's been said and done. We ask your continued blessing upon these candidates as they try and become the next leader of this city, leaders of this city. Thank you for those who have come out. Now grant them traveling grace that they get home safe. We ask it all in the matchless name of Jesus, Yeshua, your Son. Amen. Amen.